Okay, welcome to the first chapter for this subject. Now, I will ask you, what is criminology? Criminology is a body of knowledge regarding crime as a social phenomenon. So, bale, it is a collection of knowledge or information that talks about crime as a social phenomenon. Social phenomenon meaning it is an event in a society that can be studied or observed. It includes within its scope the making of laws, the breaking of laws, and the reactions toward the breaking of laws. It is also the scientific study of causes of crime in relation to man and society who set and define rules and regulations for himself and others to govern. Now, in order to better understand what criminology is, it has been divided into principal divisions because criminology is a very broad field. So the three principal divisions are criminal etiology, sociology of law, and penology. First is the criminal etiology, which is an attempt at scientific analysis of the causes of crime. So, an attempt at scientific analysis by using of systematized analytical method, we can figure out the causes of crime. So this is criminal etiology is all about. In sociology of law, it is an attempt at scientific analysis of the conditions under which penal or criminal laws develop as a process of formal social control. So here, for instance, mm, nung sa panahon na hindi pa uso yung batas na rape, since marami yung nare-rape and they figured out that it would be best to make a social control na para wala ng rape na mangyari, so ginawan siya ng batas. So it's all about ano, yung how laws are made. And next is penology, which is concerned with the control and prevention of crime and the treatment of youthful offenders. So, concerned with control, how actions in a society were controlled, and prevention of crimes. So, punishment serve as a deterrence. So, para hindi nagagawa ng krimen or ma-discourage na gagawa ng krimen. For instance, kapag mag-rape ka, ibibitay ka. Kapag papatay ka ng tao, ibibitay ka. Kapag magnanakaw ka, ibibitay ka. Unless kung ready ka ng mabitay, gagawin mo na lang yon. Pero kung ayaw mong mabitay, syempre, yung punishment na yon, it becomes a deterrent factor. So, is criminology a science? According to Sutherland and Cissy, they claim that criminology is not a science since you cannot make general propositions of universal validity. Ano daw? Okay, sabi nila, hindi daw science yung criminology because you cannot make statements that can be true to every situation. For instance, math is a science. Uh, 1 plus 1 is 2. That is always true. Even if you will apply it on other disciplines, it's always true. In physics, the law of gravity, the law of buoyancy. So, the statements being made there can be applied universally. So, it is always true. It's always valid. Well, in criminology, it's not the case daw kasi. Kasi yung criminology is changing. You cannot make a proposition now that can be changed in the future. Na iba na yung nasa future. And also, laws are changing. So, parang it's really hard to consider criminology as a science. Pero sir, question. Nganong BS Criminology man? BS, Bachelor of Science. Nganong ning kagdili science? Yes, criminology is not an absolute science, but it is an applied science because we use different disciplines to support our theories. Pero theories are not laws, are not general propositions that are universal, that has universal validity. So bali, criminology is a science, is an applied science, but not an absolute science. I hope you understand that. Crime as a social phenomenon. Okay, easy. Crime occurs in society. And since crime is a social phenomenon, it can be observed and studied. Now, the purpose of studying this is quite important because as a social phenomenon, it affects other members of society. So if it affects even the innocents, so there is a need to stop it or to minimize its occurrence. Objectives of criminology. Now, these two are the most important things on why there is criminology. First, its objective is a development of a body of general and verified principles and of other types of knowledge. Let's stop there. Development of a body of principles and knowledge. So, bale, yung pag-develop, pagdagdag, yung pag-improve, yung pag-donate, pag-contribute mo, yan yung main objective ng mga criminologist. Hindi yung kung ano, ano yung knowledge dati, after 50 years, yun pa rin, patay tayo dyan. Because the main point of this criminology, main study, is to reduce crime. To stop crime. So, bale, bakit hindi matigil-tigil yung crime? That is why may studies talaga na ginagawa kung ano yung causes ng crime para ma-stop. Okay, continuation sa types of knowledge regarding the process of law, here the process of law, crime and its control and prevention, and the treatment of youthful offenders. So these all are the topics of some of the topics of criminology. So bali, yun yung main objective, yung pagdagdag ng knowledge. Pero kung meron ng knowledge na ano, na that can be applied to all, tapos tapos wala ng krimen, well, there is no more need to study on further. Next objective, criminology is also concerned with the immediate application of knowledge to programs of social control of crime. So bali, if meron kang knowledge, meron kang information na ano, na nahagip or nalaman sa research mo na eto pala yung causes ng crime. So dapat meron kang action na gagawin, hindi yung hanggang hanggang causes, paghanap ka lang ng causes and all. Dapat you must also apply it. Kasi sayang naman yung pag-research mo. Diba? Next is some important terms in criminology. Okay, so sayang din naman kung kung mag-proceed lang tayo sa course na ito, tapos madedelay yung pag-study natin or madisturbo dahil sa mga terms na tulad nito. Criminogenic processes. This explains human behavior and the experiences which help determine the nature of a person's personality as a reacting mechanism. So, dito muna. So, eto yung mga processes na mag-explain sa human behavior. Okay, human behavior is the reaction of a human towards a stimuli. So, for instance, nakatayo ka, you're standing, and there you were suddenly punched. Kung ano yung reaction mo, that's your human behavior. Kung tatawa ka pagkatapos mong suntukin, well, that's your abnormal human behavior. Kasi normally, you would get mad. And the experiences, so this refers to your past experiences, which help determine the nature of a person's personality as a reacting mechanism. So, bali, etong behavior ng isang tao at saka yung experience niya sa buhay niya ay yung determining factor sa pag pag-characterize natin sa isang tao kung ano yung personality niya. Okay, for instance, pwedeng inductive. Okay, etong taong to, for instance lang, you know a person who is short-tempered, madaling magalit. So, bali, alam mo na ilang beses na din siyang natraidor ng mga close friends niya. So, parang yung personality niya is madali siyang magalit, short-tempered person. So, that is inductive. He is short-tempered, ang experience na ganito, so he is a short-tempered person. Deductive, pwede din deductive reasoning, she is a tempered person. Maybe kanang madali siyang magalit. And also, yung experience sa buhay niya, palagi siyang natatraidor. Kaya, yung personality niya is madali siyang magalit. Short-tempered. So, isa yan sa way sa pag-explain sa personality. Okay. That factors or experiences in connection thereto infringe differentially upon different personalities, producing conflict, which is the aspect of crime. Okay, according to this, kapag yung personality ng tao, for example, may short-tempered person, tapos meron ding yung happy-go-lucky pero prankster siya. So, nagkasalubong sila. Tapos naisipan ng prankster na mag-prank. Short-tempered yun eh. So, bali, meron agad conflict sa kanilang personality. So, there's a possibility na merong crime mangyayari. Next term is criminal psychodynamics. It is the study of mental processes of criminals in action. So, study of mental processes. All about mental processes. The study of genesis or the origin, the development, and motivation of human behavior that conflicts with accepted norms and standards of society. This study concentrates on the study of individuals as opposed to general studies of mass population with respect to their general criminal behavior. So, when talking about criminal psychodynamics, it refers to a single person only, an individual. So, It also studies the origin of uh, why a criminal thinks that way. What is its origin, or how did it became ng kung ano yung mga experiences niya, kung bakit ganun yung development ng kanyang mental processes, how he thinks, and kung ano yung motivation niya, kung bakit ganun siya. Okay? Cultural conflict now. Here's the most common issue. Kahit nga sa US, nakita ko lang sa isang video sa Facebook naka-record, an American woman, pinagalitan niya yung dalawang Pinay kasi nag-uusap using Filipino language. The American said, "You are here in the US. You must speak English." Well, in my defense, those Filipinas were not talking to her. So, parang nagkaroon na rin ng cultural conflict since language is part of a culture. So, in other situations, there are differences in customs, institutions, habits, learning, tradition, especially tradition. This includes also religion. Grabe yung religion, makakreate ng cultural conflict. So, bali, this is not really, if there's a cultural conflict, it does not necessarily mean that there will be a crime already, or there will be a crime, 100% sure. But it is a factor that can lead to aggressive behavior. Next is dementia precox. It is a collective term of mental disorders. So, bali, under dementia precox, there are plenty of mental disorders. But these disorders, dementia precox, begins at or shortly after puberty and usually leads to general failure of the mental faculties with their corresponding physiological impairment. Okay, dementia is a sickness, is a mental disorder. So precox, I think it's a Latin word that means premature. So parang hindi talaga hinog, para medyo hilaw pa. So in this case, parang naahat nga dementia. Okay, next is delusion. In medical jurisprudence, it is a false belief about self caused by morbidity present in paranoia and dementia precox. So, eto yung delusion, yung mali yung pananaw mo sa sarili mo. Akala mo yun na yun, pero hindi pala. So, for instance, sasabihin mo na, ano, gwapa kayo ko. Ako may pinakagwapa. So, kag-grind na ko. But, what's wrong with what we interpret in that is that we usually say, wag kang mag-ilusyon. Pero mali yun. The right term is, wag kang magdelusyon. Episodic criminal is a non-criminal person who commits a crime when under extreme emotional stress. So, bali yung isang tao nakakagawa ng krimen dahil parang sobra na talaga yung stress na naranasan niya. It is a person who breaks down and commits a crime as a single incident during the regular course of natural and normal events. So, bali, eto yung tao na nakakagawa ng krimen kasi sumabog na or nahihirapan na siya. Usually, sa panahon ngayon na mahirap talaga maghanap ng pera, yun, kapag for instance, nahulog yung isang wallet, At kapag nakita mo, kahit na usually sinasauli mo, naisip mo na, wala akong pera ngayon. So, hindi mo na yun isasauli. And yes, that is stealing. Not returning a person's belonging is considered stealing. Kung hindi mo alam, then give it to the authorities. Another example is yung empleyado, napatay yung bossing niya. Kasi sobra na yung pag-abusar. Next is erotomania. It is a morbid propensity to love or make love. It is an uncontrollable sexual desire or excessive sexual craving by members of either sex. So, bale, eromaniac. Bisag kinsan lay tirahan. Anytime, anywhere. Okay? Inheritance. The transmission of physical characteristics, mental traits, tendency to disease, etc. from parents to offspring. So, inheritance. Ito yung, yung mga ma-inherit na mga sakit, kung sa pamilya niyo ba, uso ba yung cancer, uso ba yung medyo may mga baliw, kahit na yung mental traits, kahit na yung ano, yung pagiging short-tempered, madaling magalit. There were researches na that proved na na-inherit yun. In genetics, the tendency manifested by an organism to develop in the likeness of a progenitor due to the transmission of genes in the productive process. So, ang proof nila kung bakit may ganon is dahil yung during the productive process, yung mga chromosomes. Yung XY chromosomes na dala ng sperm at saka yung XX chromosomes na dala ng egg. Hereditary have been believed to share about equally in determining disposition, that is, whether a person is cheerful or gloomy, his temperament, and his nervous stability. So, similar siya sa inheritance dahil sa malalaman mo na kung ano um, yung kung ano siyang klase na tao, yung personality niya sa pagtingin or sa tawag dito, if we are going to base its parents. So, malalaman na natin. So, kung yung tatay niya ay medyo mainhin, so, malaki yung probability na, mainhin din siya. Synonymous lang itong hereditary at saka yung inheritance. Okay. I think hereditary is adjective manata. And inheritance, inherit is, I think, adverb. I don't know. Poor English. Hallucination. An individual with a strongly self-centered pattern of emotion, fantasy, and thought. So, to make this easy, hallucinate, eto na yung may nakikita na siya kahit wala dun. Okay. Kleptomaniac, an uncontrollable morbid propensity to steal or pathological stealing. The symptoms of this disease usually consist of peculiar motives for stealing and hoarding. So, alam na natin kung ano ito. Masochism, a condition of sexual perversion in which a person derives pleasure from being dominated or cruelly treated. So, ito yung naka-experience ng pleasure kapag sinasaktan. Melancholia, okay, ito namang yung mga emo. A mental disorder characterized by excessive brooding, grabe nga pagpanlood, and depression of spirits. Kana mo nag-feeling na niya nga, grabe na siya ka-down. Typical of manic depressive psychosis accompanied by delusions and hallucinations. So, eto mga taong to, delikado, these people are prone to suicide. Kasi kapag napagalitan mo to, ano talaga, feeling nila lahat ng tao ay kalaban. Kapag pinasaya mo naman, feeling nila may kailangan ka. Basta halos lahat ng gagawin mo, it all comes down to negativity. Next is megalomania, a mental disorder in which the subject thinks himself great or exalted. Feeling niya, napaka-great niya. Wala nang hihigit sa kanya. Necrophilism. Okay, in short, mahilig makipagtalik sa patay. Nakaka-experience ng sexual gratification kapag makipagtalik sa patay. Anthropology. It is science devoted to the study of mankind and its development in relation to its physical, mental, and cultural history. So this is all about the history of mankind. So it's physical, mental, and cultural history. Autophobia. It is a morbid fear of oneself or of being alone. Biometry. In criminology, a measuring or calculating of the probable duration of human life. So parang name-measure nila kung hanggang kailan ka lang mabuhay. The attempt to correlate the frequency of crime between parents and children or brothers and sisters. So, parang ginagawa din ito kapag, let's say, kapag ang parent ay isang kriminal, let's say, nakakagawa siya ng 20 crimes sa kanyang lifetime, parang ikino-correlate nila yun sa anak. So, sasabihin nila, hindi hindi kalayuan na 20 rin yung gagawing krimen ng anak sa kanyang lifetime. Biosocial behavior. A person's biological heritage plus his environment and social heritage influence his social activity. So, bio means biology, body, social means society, and behavior. So, yung behavior niya can be inherited, is dependent on his biological aspect and sociological aspect. Okay, for instance, yung kanyang nanay is, yung pamilya nila nakatira sa Tondo. So, ang Tondo is known to be a very magulo na lugar, chaotic place. So, it's likely that chaotic din ang kanyang parents. Plus, sa environment pa na chaotic, so malaking chance din na chaotic din yung kanilang anak. Parang basag ulo din. So, may factor talaga. And lastly is logomacy. It is a statement that we would have no crime if we had no criminal law, and that we could eliminate all crimes merely by abolishing all criminal laws. So, bale, there is no crime if there is no law punishing it. Parang we're just fooling ourselves, Okay, so that ends our lecture. So